Namaskaram. I'm Dr. Neeta Joseph from the FB page Dr. Neeta Joseph. Today what I wanted to talk to you about is with regard to something very common, but still many of us parents don't know how to handle it. And that is with regard to kids' fights. Most of us know that it is a very common and healthy thing to, every child must have fought with his or her siblings. But it is sometimes very difficult for us parents to not get angry, and it's difficult for us to tolerate. So what happens is that we get frustrated and the whole scene changes. Now what is important is that to understand that, like any relationship, the relationship between siblings would fluctuate back and forth. So let us discuss with regard to why sibling fights happen. Sibling fights happen due to fluctuations, and let me tell you, it could be fluctuations with regard to their emotions, with regard to their even something as innocent as temperature, or with regard to their hormones. So many things cause sibling fights, and something as innocent as boredom or hunger can also trigger a fight. But on a serious note, let me tell you that the parents, how they express their anger is also important here. If parents stamp their feet and yell at each other, or call bad names, and sulk for a long time, and if these kind of behaviors happen frequently, children tend to follow these. So sibling fights would reach that level sometimes. So what I would like to, now we would think of sibling fights as not something, at this stage we think of sibling fights as something very serious and not as cute as they are supposed to be. Now as parents, what can we do to when our children are fighting? So the first and foremost thing is to completely ignore their fights. And when they are fighting, they should come to know that they should solve their fights by themselves. Now, when the time when we have to step in during their fights is when two things happen. And the first thing is, if physical abuse happens, especially with two boys fighting, it would go to a very bad extent if we don't interfere. So if physical abuse happens, and the second thing is when inappropriate verbal language is used. So in these two conditions, parents will have to interfere and stop as soon as possible. Now another thing which we will have to do is to stop our display of unnecessary aggression, and teach our children how we control and manage our anger. So with these things, we will try to make them understand that fights do happen, people do get angry, but if we are able to manage our fights, things would not go to a very ugly extent. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.